Hello, everybody. My name is Emily, and I am a master's student in the Clinical Mental Health Counseling program at West Virginia University. And today I'm going to be sharing with you the Triune hand and brain model. This is going to be life-changing, trust me. So by the end of our little journey here today, I'm going to have you look your brain in the eye and show it who's boss. That's a lot. We're going to do it anyways because I believe in us. So, pretty obvious, we're going to be using our hands as our brain, and I know it feels a little silly. But I'm going to demonstrate something for you that happens, at least to me, probably every day. So, sometimes things in our life happen, not great things, but my lid flips. I didn't even do that dramatically enough. My lid flips. I know people use that expression all the time, but for me that just means kind of go haywire, don't really know what's happening, don't even know what to do about what's happening. But through this hand model, I've learned how to put my lid back on. Sometimes it takes a little bit, sometimes I have to walk around, find the lid, grab it, put it back on, but it happens. So, like I said, this is going to feel a little bit silly, but I think your friends are going to be pretty jealous of all the information you know from something as simple as your hand about something as complex as your brain. And I like to show off to my friends. Don't know about you. Pretty fun. So, we're going to start off with a very, very broad statement, and that's that all behavior is purposeful. So everything I share with you today, everything matters. So just by saying one brain part does this and one brain part does this, it doesn't mean that one's better than the other, one does more than the other. We're just saying all of it has its place and all of it means something. So like I said, lid flipped. I'm going to tell us today what happens when the lid flips, what is flipping, what does that even mean, and what happens when our lid's back on. So to start, we're going to open our hand up like this. So we're going to need about from your elbow all the way to the tips of your fingers for this model today. So what's going to happen is we're going to I know, just follow along. We're going to walk across my bracelets up our spinal cord. So from here to here is going to be our spinal cord, and as you can see, the spinal cord is attached to the brain, just like it is in our bodies. So we're walking, and we get to about the bottom of our palm right here, and that is going to be the base of our skull. So if we take a little jump right up across, we are at our brain stem. And in our brain stem, we're going to call this the doing brain. So in our doing brain, this is where essentially we're reptiles, right? So this is where all of our primal sort of instinctual things happen. So this is where we breathe, we digest our food, we blink, we sneeze, we do all of that sort of thing. So down here's in our doing brain, like I said, reptile brain. So if you want to tell your friends that you watched a YouTube video about how you're a reptile person, you can tell them. But we're going to keep moseying along, and I'm going to show you we're not actually reptile people, even though it'd be pretty awesome. So, back to where we're at. This is the doing brain, like I said. Now we're going to move on to baby gate brain. Yeah, still following with me? Cool. So this is going to be the baby gate brain, and this is what we're going to call the feeling brain. So this little guy right here is what we're going to call the limbic brain, the limbic area. This is where our hippocampus and our amygdala, things that make us have memories, have attachment, that sort of thing lives here in the middle of our brain, or the midbrain. So we're going to call it the baby gate because like babies, we need attachments to survive pretty much. So the thing that differentiates us from reptiles is our limbic area, just to make that clear. So in this position, as you can see, the lid is off right now. So when the lid is off, we are essentially reacting to our world. We don't have this lid on yet. to be able to do much more than have attachments, sneeze, things like that. So, when our lid is flipped, the one thing we can ask ourselves in order to put the lid back on is how I'm reacting going to benefit my situation in any way. If it's not going to benefit, you can make that choice and still do it. If it is going to benefit, great. It usually doesn't, but great. So, hopefully you're still following along with me. But, baby gate. Got it? Good. So, we just asked ourselves, let's say something super crazy happened, and we asked ourselves, is this going to benefit my situation, me reacting to this? And we decided no. So we're trying to put our lid back on. So this is going to be our lid. Our lid sort of is like a map. So this is the thinking brain. This is our cortex, our prefrontal cortex. Everything like that lives up here up top. And here is going to be our left and our right prefrontal cortex. And you've probably heard this before. The left side of the brain does the logical things. The right side of the brain is more emotional based. And that's not saying that both sides can't do both, but that's more or less how it's going to work. So we have our map. And when I have our map on, everything's secure in there. Can't really shake that baby gate out. No reptiles popping out. So, whenever this is happening, essentially we're able to build our capacity to respond to our world. And if we're responding to our world, everything is online, everything is how it should be for the most part. You're able to look at everything, know what's happening in your brain, know what's happening in your body, and you're able to respond, like I said. And once you're able to do this, essentially your body is in regulation. And if you are in charge of this regulation, you know what's happening, you know the steps of the process, you're able to regulate. This is when we're going to look our brain in the eye. And I know you don't want to do it. Pull that baby up here. Look at it. Okay, that's enough. So, I'm going to put it away. So essentially, what we've learned here today, hopefully what we've learned here today, is that our brains are very complex, but if you break it down into these little parts, it makes it a lot easier to understand. And once we're able to understand sort of how our brains put together, we're able to respond to our world, regulate ourselves, and just make the most out of life. I mean, our lid's gonna flip. It's gonna flip. But once you're able to ask yourself the very important question, put the lid back on, everything is going to be a whole new ball game. And I know it's a little bit silly to do. You might not want to show your friends, but if you want to show your friends, I think they'd be pretty impressed. But at the end of the day, teenage years, they're hard, essentially. They're very, very hard. You're trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do with your life, how do you fit in the world, what does it all mean? So learning how to deal with the lid flipping, notice the lid flipping, everything, hopefully will help so much more. It doesn't really give you the answers, but it at least shows you what's going on, and that could be helpful. I know for me it's pretty helpful. So in this world that gives us a lot of questions, at least we sort of have some type of beginning of an answer. And like I said, all behavior is purposeful. Everything happens because of our behavior. Everything means something. So no matter what, we mean something, our brains mean something, and when we're able to understand our brain, we're able to understand our world. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. I know it's a little silly, but if you just look at your brain 2 minutes out of the day every day, I think it'd be pretty cool. Thanks for hanging out with me today.